I am the UK Space Command Liaison Officer to the Royal Navy's Operations Centre, basically making sure that all Royal Navy operations, wherever they are around the world, are provided requisite support from UK Space Command. In terms of support to operations, we look at things like GPS, making sure that all of the systems, aircraft aboard the ships have the support we need in terms of modelling any disruptions to the GPS signal, as well as satellite communications, working with our partners across defence to make sure that the ships at sea have the satellite communications they need to be able to speak to their higher headquarters, as well as making sure that they are aware of what's going on in the space environment too. So space weather events that could disrupt their communications, their radars, both on the ground, at sea and in space, which could affect maritime operations. So I loved science, physics, chemistry. I actually quite enjoyed maths. I enjoyed the logical progression of it. If you followed the right pathway, you got the right answer. But it was also, I really enjoyed physics because it was something you could keep digging into. The more you learned, it wasn't just finding the answers to your questions, but finding new questions as well. I enjoyed debating teams. I was part of the cadets when I was at school. So working with other people, learning about science, but also putting it into practical applications, and then taking that forward into being a teacher, Key Stage 2 for 7 to 11 years old. So having to have an understanding about science, the world around us, and putting that into terms that are relevant to a different audience or a different situation. Has a lot of crossover with the commercial sector as well as the military. Because if you're going on to brief an Army general or a Navy admiral, or any particular situation where you have to talk to them about something that's going on in the space environment, it has to be meaningful. And that's part of my job as a liaison officer, is to translate space into something that my supported headquarters, in this case the Maritime Operations Centre, can use. And also going the other way, so making sure that what's going on in Space Command is aligned with what the Navy is doing, and vice versa, so we're all joined up. I love teaching. Working with children was probably one of the most rewarding times of my life, but I was in the military before, in another role, before I became a primary school teacher, and I loved it, I missed it, wanted to come back in, and they said yes, which I was very pleased about. And then I eventually found my way into the world of space operations, and I have no intention of leaving it anytime soon. No 2 days are the same. From one day, we could be an event like this in terms of doing STEM engagement outreach, going out to educate, upskill and inform other parts of the military who may not have the awareness of their dependence on space. And the next day could be going out to a school to help a school event, for example. The next day could be what we would call a tactical estimate, where we are planning a military activity, where that could be something small, like a patrol boat going to a certain country for a visit, or it could be something like a full carrier strike group deployment that is going out to the far side of the world for 8 months. And on top of that, also instructing. A space instructor is an advocate for space, someone who understands not only what space is and what space capabilities can do, but also how they relate to different parts of the military, different parts of government, and different parts of the UK and the commercial sector. And not just in terms of space, but also looking at non-kinetic effects as well. So if there is a requirement to work with partners across government, different government agencies to achieve a desired outcome that the UK government requires, we all work together. We are our own areas of specialism, all come together and plan it all out. And depending on what we're asked to plan, to deliver, to instruct, to the different audience that we're looking to engage with, it's always good fun. Space is inherently joint. It applies to everyone, whether you are walking down the street or whether you are in a ship or you're in an aircraft or you're going to work. It applies to everyone, so making sure that we have as broad a background as possible is very important to us. Because that helps us do our job much more effectively. There is no specific pathway as such, but that's by design. Space Command has representatives from across the military, from the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, as well as commercial partners, civilian agencies, and coalition allies as well. And everyone brings something different to the table. It is challenging, it is diverse, and it's educational, I think is absolutely fascinating. It's a hugely exciting time to be working around space. In terms of the rate of technology development, our dependence on space capability, but also not knowing what's around the corner. Some of the technology and the understanding of the world around us, I find that fascinating. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next few years come out with. So if someone was interested in going to my field of work, I would say, like the great space explorers that have come before us, don't give up. There are going to be setbacks, and everything from the early astronauts to the scientists and mathematicians who got them there, to the people who dreamt up the idea of going in the first place. There are always going to be setbacks, but I would definitely say stick with it. Keep solving the problems, keep working through the problems one at a time, and eventually you will get there. In terms of a route to actually coming into this line of work, I don't think there is any one particular pathway that is nailed down. I think that's for the right reasons, where everyone comes from their own background, so everyone can come into space from their own experiences and their own history and their own past with their own perspective, which makes the whole industry stronger and better for it. It's a hugely fascinating time to be part of the development of the UK space sector, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes.